So it gets these purple spots all over the green stem that a lot of people would confuse with poison ivy. For this week's video, we are discussing noxious and poisonous plants. This is a compilation, and so some of the video footage that we're sharing today may appear in some other videos that we made previously, and some of this will be new.
We wanted to put all the information together into one video.
We're going to be discussing a few different plants today.
Poison ivy, poison hemlock, giant hogweed.
As well as we'll be discussing poison ivy look-alike, box elder, which many people have mistaken as being a poison ivy tree. Now, one thing, this place has a healthy crop of poison ivy all along both sides of this trail. I'll show you some in its different stages because there's plenty of it here. This is poison ivy. This is poison ivy. This is also poison ivy, very wilty looking. But yeah, that's poison ivy too.
There's a big wood in it.
So poison ivy essentially has 3 leaves, 1, 2, 3. And it's kind of like a mitten or whatever, a little bit jagged on the edge sometimes. You can see. And like this one's a good example. You more see this, the stems are red and the leaves are green. You'll notice the first 2 leaves are directly across from each other. The third leaf comes out on a little stem. Okay, a little further down on that same trail, poison ivy berries. And you don't want to eat these, that's for sure. That's all poison ivy. All of that. And those little berries are full of the oily urushiol that causes the itch. So that's the poison ivy right behind us here, and it's taken over a little tree, and it's growing up the tree, and it's showing its berries. Its berries are coming in, and of course you don't want to eat those, obviously. The whole plant is toxic, and people have reactions to it. There's a lot of people who think that they don't get poison ivy, and I've heard a lot of people for years, oh, they never got it, they're not allergic to it, it won't bother them. Then they get in a patch of it and they get it really bad, and then after that they seem to catch it very easy for the rest of their life. I'm not sure why that is. I'm not a botanist or a chemist or whatever, but I've heard that kind of story a lot. So I would say it's good to know what poison ivy looks like and stay away from it. Even if you don't get it, I think that things change in your body, and eventually people do become susceptible and they do get it. I've heard a lot of hunters and hikers and whatever who never got it, and then all of a sudden they got it, and then they get it very easily after that. Yeah, those berries are food for certain kinds of birds. There's different kinds of birds that'll eat those berries later in the year, and it doesn't seem to affect them. Yeah, not sure why. This plant here is poison hemlock, and it's growing along a roadside here. So all these little buds are flowers, and they'll open up. I don't see any open here, but if you can see the stem, it's these purple spots on the green stem. So it gets these purple spots all over the green stem. Here's a picture of the leaf. Poison hemlock is one of the most toxic plants that you'll find in nature. It's often confused with wild carrot or wild parsley. If consumed, it will most likely cause death by respiratory failure.
Even touching the plant can cause a rash that blisters and burns.
Poison hemlock is also very similar to another plant which is also invasive and dangerous, and that's called giant hogweed. We don't have any examples of giant hogweed for our video today, but it has many of the same characteristics, or very similar to poison hemlock. It has a green stem with purple blotches on it, and even the flowers look very similar.
Giant hogweed, as the name implies, is a huge plant. The flower can get up to 2 feet and it can grow up to 9 feet tall.
Yeah, it is a lot bigger than the poison hemlock. Giant hogweed, just like poison hemlock though, is a member of the carrot family. Both, however, are toxic and invasive and can cause rashes, burns, and death. The plants that we've been discussing so far, poison ivy, poison hemlock, giant hogweed, for myself, I wouldn't hesitate to mow them down. I'm not suggesting that anyone else do that, but that's something that for me, I would be comfortable with doing if I was using a lawnmower or a brush hogger. I would say never use a weed eater on any of those plants. I know some people before that were using a weed eater and have accidentally hit poison ivy, and they greatly regretted doing that whenever it happened. You don't want to hit any of these kinds of plants with a weed eater and fling their juices all over the place. You don't want that stuff flying at you. But using a lawnmower or brush hog, if the plants are small enough to be hit with that, I would have no hesitation personally doing that, but I would not suggest anyone else do that. That would be at your own risk if you would. The reason I would do it is if you keep these kinds of plants from flowering and from producing seed, they should die out in a few years if they're constantly mowed and kept down and not really allowed to make flowers and seeds. I also would not hesitate to spray them with an herbicide. I personally like everything organic and all that, and I'm all for it, but when it comes to plants that are dangerous and toxic and there's no other way to deal with them, I would not hesitate to use an herbicide, especially if it's somewhere that's going to affect humans, especially children. I wouldn't hesitate at all to use an herbicide on them. Okay, while we're walking out of here, here is a tree that a lot of people would confuse with poison ivy and think is a poison ivy tree because the leaves look like poison ivy. This is box elder. This is not poison ivy. Looks a lot like it though, but that is box elder. Poison ivy does not grow into a tree. No matter how old it is, it can get pretty big, but it is a vine. It never grows into a tree. Here's a plant growing here. That looks a lot like poison ivy. Could that be poison ivy? Every one of these is 3 leaves. Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? But it's not. How do I know this is not poison ivy? This is another look-alike. This is Virginia creeper. On the poison ivy, this leaf here comes out on a little stem separate on its own. That's one way to know. This is just young Virginia creeper. They usually have 3 leaves until they get older, then they get 5 leaves. This is further down the vine. You can now see the 5 leaves on the larger leaf has 5 leaflets rather than 3. There's a small one yet that has 4. But yeah, that's Virginia creeper. Looks a lot like poison ivy though, but that is Virginia creeper. Okay, this plant is wild carrot or Queen Anne's lace, and I just want to show some differences on it. The leaves are very similar with the poison hemlock, and the flower is very similar as well. It's supposed to have a little purple flower right in the center. This one doesn't have it. In fact, I'm not seeing it on any of these. But that's one of the identifying features on true wild carrot. And there are no purple blotches on the stems at all. So those are just some quick differences between actual wild carrot and poison hemlock. If you want to know more about wild carrot, look that up separately. This video is about the poisonous plants, not really the good plants. But I just wanted to show a quick comparison that there is a difference and show some of what that difference is. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends.
Hit like and subscribe.
And if you'd like to receive notifications when we upload the next video, hit the notification bell.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the next one. And box elder. I didn't put it in there. Oh wait. Click, what is that? Hey, our mugs have arrived. We're unboxing some mugs that we had ordered from Teespring. Success is doing what you love.
Sorry I missed your call. I was on the other line.
Live your own dream, not someone else's.
For the experienced YouTube play button.
My fishing buddies call me Dad. We offer all 6 of these mugs in our Teespring store. You can get them in any color on their store. We got blue, yellow, white, orange, gray background, and black as well. Check out the links in the description below.